Hello everybody, you're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. This is the weekly radio show where we chat about the local arts news. We have a different guest on each week. We head over to the Rhylight Zone for a short story and or some poetry. And we catch up with Twangling Jack Ford in the Oak Shed for a weekly album review. As always, you can find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. And we are repeated on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Please do leave us a short review of your podcast platform of choice. It all helps. You can also reach out to me here at the studio if you'd like to by dropping me a line on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain @wickhamsound.org.uk. So this week we have a catch-up show where we're going to be catching up with Suzanne, aka Squidfacegirl. And we're also going to be chatting to Tom Schwarz, who's a bass player and the author of Dalek Christianity. But before we do that, we are going to head over to the Rhylight Zone. And this is the latest instalment of The Crumb by myself, Dane Cobain. Ah, yes, Marlon said. The screams, don't mind them. You get used to them after a while. But what are they? Caroline asked. Beats me, Marlon replied. The wind blowing through the gaps in the brickwork, perhaps. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the screams of the 17 men who've been executed here throughout the prison's 150-year history. A shiver passed down Caroline's spine, and she could tell from the looks on the others' faces that she wasn't alone. Tatugo le chumbasa failancio. No need to panic, everything's under control. Yeah, Harry said, are you sure about that? Hey, who's that? Who's who? That, one of the ghost hunters said, pointing a finger along the corridor and into the darkness. Caroline turned to follow his outstretched finger, as did the rest of them. Oh, that, Marlon said. He hasn't got a name, we just call him the CD. CD? The condemned man, Marlon replied. Look, watch closely. They did as they were told, with a couple of the ghost hunters shining their electric torches towards the figure at the end of the corridor. As they did so, it turned to look at them, and Caroline was so surprised that she dropped her torch, where it shattered against the uneven stone floor. It had no face, just a blank space of flesh, pale skin stretched across bone. A slender man of the 19th century. And as she watched, it turned away again, and the pallor of its empty visage was replaced by lank locks of long, greasy hair. Then the condemned man stepped forwards and was absorbed into the stonework. He disappeared in the blink of an eye. Huh. He'll be on the way back to his cell, Marlon said. Let's follow him. Is that a good idea? You wanted to see ghosts, didn't you? Point taken. That was the latest instalment of The Crumb by myself, Dane Cobain. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound, and this is Jazz DeLorean with Rain on a Sunday.
Got my head down on the tracks, eyelids full of rain. When the sun keeps shining for someone else, I fight this hurricane. Don't keep telling me to smile, I won't waste a smile again. Do you have the facts to make a lie, or the courage to remain? There's nothing like rain on a Sunday. Get you in a Monday sort of mood. Alone and in the dark, you got me on my knees. Take me to a star way out in space. One-way ticket, please. nothing like rain on a Sunday. Get you in a Monday sort of mood. No, there's nothing like rain on a Sunday. To get you in a Monday sort of mood.
That was Without You by Off Party, and before that we had Rain on a Sunday by Jazz DeLorean. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and it's time for us to catch up with Suzanne Pursey, aka Squidfacegirl.
I think we spoke, what was it, maybe about a year ago. So yeah, what's new since then?
Yeah, we spoke a year ago, and we spoke nearly exactly a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, we played a song that was very close to my heart that we're going to play a new version of today, called the Mince Pie Song. And that the reason behind that song is that my mother suffers with Alzheimer's. So I'd like to report that my mother's doing well. although slightly more forgetful.
Mm-hmm.
And as a tribute to her and my dad, and to anyone who's been affected by this horrific illness within their family personally, at any point or previously, I just wanted to do the song justice by putting a new twist on it, which is a piano and vocal, very basic and heartfelt rendition. So there, I've done a remix of that. Another song we played back then was called Suicide Prevention Song. I've had a jiggle with that, and it's now called Be Kind to Yourself. But again, I've learned a lot more about mixing and producing music since we last spoke, which is probably why I've chosen to remix the songs that were so close to my heart. So that's another thing I've been doing, really going crazy on YouTube, learning everything there's to know. Well, I don't think I'll ever know that, but, you know, really trying to get to grips with something I knew absolutely nothing about a year ago, which is, you know, the whole side of compressing and mixing and mastering and so on. So I just absolutely love it. I love it. It's my new passion and hobby. And it's really helped me to feel alive and well. So
amazing.
Yeah. So that's primarily what I've been up to. I did get made redundant, but again, I've managed to turn that into a wholly positive thing, because I'm going to whiz off to India next year for a month or 3 and go up north to Rishikesh and have a wellness retreat, because I've realized that health and well-being is really important. I'm really disappointed you didn't ask me what book I'd read, because that caught me out last time.
Oh, well, go ahead. Let us know.
I wanted to tell you that I've been reading Ultra Processed People by an author called Chris Van Tulken, and that I'm only a quarter of the way through, but that's probably part of the reason why I'm off to Rishikesh on a wellness retreat, to try and put a bit of this into action and see if I can make myself a little weller than I currently feel, because of perhaps all the processed food that we eat. So yeah.
I've heard about that, and actually I
about
want to read that one myself. But that ties in nicely as well with the whole you know, be kind to yourself message as well. I think that's an important thing to remember, is that everyone can benefit from doing that kind of thing, whether you know, from those with a serious mental illness to those who, you know, have always thought of themselves as, you know, doing fine. Even the healthiest among us can find ways to be kinder to ourselves.
That's so true, Dane. And in the past, I've been a fine one for battering myself and not being able to see the positive in myself. And I think I've moved on a great deal, especially in the past year. And music's been key to that. I mean, during lockdown, I was very active in a group called Open Mic Salate. And I'd like to shout out to anyone who was in that group. But their motto was music is the glue. And I really understand what that means now. Music truly has been my glue, along with a supportive friend and family network. But I really want to learn more about how to get my message out there. And that involves using social media in a way that a 54-year-old woman who isn't so up on it needs to learn. And so that's my next challenge. I'd really like to be heard by more people, but I'm not really sure how to do that. So,
well, and you know, I like to end my interviews with that kind of question of, you know, what's next for people. So is that going to be your focus for 2025? I mean, obviously, I suppose the wellness retreat is a big chunk of focus for the year. But what's your focus in terms of your music? Is it more about the writing new material? Is it about producing more material, or is it about getting the word out?
Well, it's been such a busy year, Dane. What with being on the stage at Frogfest 2024 this year, which is something I told you last December I wanted to do. That's an amazing achievement. And I'd like to shout out to Bidco for giving me that opportunity as well. But moving on from there, it's been such a musical year. I've written 7 songs and I've left everything to the last minute in true Susie style, probably because of Frogfest and other things. Life gets in the way. But I did buy 100 CDs to be cut very spontaneously last December. And I've got till the very end of December to send everything off to the company CD Unity, who will take control of it from there, because I don't really understand the barcodes and all the ins and outs of that. But so yeah, I'm really busy until the end of the year getting that done. And then when the CDs arrive in a box, I will just leave them there and think about how to promote that when I get back from India. So that's what I'll be doing next year. Once I've learned how to, I will get them out on all the platforms and let people know about them. In the meantime, I would like to just say that the Mince Pie song is out on all major platforms already, and all money that I raise from that, be it 1 penny, be it £10, whatever, anything would be brilliant, is going to go to the Alzheimer's Research Charity. And the Be Kind to Yourself song, the remix version, is also out on all major platforms for you to download for whatever, £1, whatever you can afford. And that will all be going to Wickham Mind and split equally with Wickham Mind and the Suicide Prevention Organisation. Thank you.
Brilliant. Awesome. And, you mentioned you played Frogfest. I think last time we chatted, you were just gearing up for your first gig. So have you done any other shows throughout the year, or is it just the two? And where would you like to play next year, as you've achieved your 2024 goal? So what's your 2025 goal going to be?
I did also audition to be on the Worthing Festival stage in 2025. I made round 7, which is not a great achievement, so there's a long way to go there. Although I was in round 7 of the first lot anyway, so there was a lot of competition, and we didn't get through. That was me with my best friend Derek performing as Squidfacegirl and the Giant Obstacle. So next year we will reform, hopefully, but it might be of a more acoustic genre, it might not. That we'll have to wait and see what we come up with, and I'll just be plugging away, getting the songs on the CD out there.
Awesome. And you mentioned the CD and the songs on the CD. You've talked about a few of your songs. Can you tell us anything else about what's going to be on the CD, and do you have maybe a title for it in mind?
It really is a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde CD, because it's going to have some really laid back stuff on it, where I'm kind of almost talk singing, not rapping, but talk singing, being poetic, dare I suggest. And some of them are like track 3, if you get the chance to play all 3 today, are just so upbeat. I mean, they're like the songs from my raving days, rather, a kind of laid back 90s house beat, but I could always speed it up. Who knows what I'll do. Yeah, so it's a bit of both, but there'll be a few surprises on there. But it's going to be Squidfacegirl solo with a bit of support from, of course, the Giant Obstacle and my big brother AP, who plays the guitar on Be Kind to Yourself.
Awesome. It's funny because
and Derek played the piano on Mince Pie song. I mustn't forget to mention that.
Great.
Shout out to AP and the Giant Obstacle. I couldn't have done any of this without them.
Well, it's funny because the idea of the Jekyll and Hyde as well, it would really suit nicely, like either a vinyl or a cassette, where you have the two sides, and you could have side A is the Jekyll side, side B is the Hyde side. But I suppose people can still think of it like that anyway when they're listening to a CD or a digital download.
Dane, if I thought I could shift a load of vinyl, I wouldn't hesitate to cut it. Yeah. And that is a wonderful analogy or way of looking at it that you've suggested. But I hope people will be prepared to spend £1 and download the songs individually as and when I present them.
Well, especially because they're for the good causes as well. And, speaking of that, do you have any other causes that are close to your heart that you would like to try and raise some money for, or to do a song for?
I think it's really important that a percentage of the songs that I write are and always will be for a charity close to my heart. With the fact that Alzheimer's is so personal to me and my family, that's where my focus is. And also I know friends who have been touched by suicide, and I myself have struggled with mental health. So it is really suicide prevention. Mind UK, Mind High Wycombe, I'd like the proceeds for Be Kind to Yourself to go specifically to Highway if that's possible. I mean, they'll be going in my bank account, and I will most honestly put every penny from these songs into those organisations.
Yeah.
That was us catching up with Squidfacegirl. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Thomas Heppel with Be My Home.
Hold time, it's a funny thing, can heal the deepest wounds, create the most painful things. And since, girl, you came along, you're the greatest gift to fall in my arms. And I don't deserve the heart you give. Now the beauty of your soul, I'm just so in love with. And I hope you can see beyond my troubled times, 'cause I'm a man who's broken, being fixed one piece at a time. Oh, so with me while my world falls apart. You're the only thing I need when the light has returned. Be there by my side, and please, oh, be my home. My mind, it's a complex thing, can make the most beautiful world a very tragic place. You know, I wish I could change, chase away my demons, remove the pain. I don't deserve the heart you give. Now the beauty of your soul, I'm just so in love with. And I hope you can see beyond my troubled times, 'cause I'm a man who's broken, being fixed one piece at a time. Oh, so with me while my world falls apart. You're the only thing I need when the light has returned. Be there by my side, please, oh, be my home. Be with me while my world falls apart. You're the only thing I need. And when the light has returned, be there by my side and be my home. Productions.
That was Thomas Heppel with Be My Home. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and it's time for us to catch up now with previous guest Tom Schwarz to find out what's new.
What's new with you since last time we spoke? So what have you been up to?
Right, all sorts of things, but let's talk about the book, even though it's a mixed picture. I actually talked to my pastor Wendy last week, and she said, have you sold more than 50 copies of your book? And I said, just about, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, that puts you in the top half of Christian authors.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking it was slow going, but I've got a 4.7 out of 5 rating on Amazon, and I've got 3 or 4 Amazon reviews, which is actually not too bad. But I was sort of depressed, and then it was like a little voice said to me, quantity is not as important as quality. If your book has touched a few people's lives and made a positive impact, surely isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that why you started out to write the book in the first place? And I had to say to the little voice in my head, yeah, it probably was. And so I just heard from my daughter just in the run up to Christmas, and she works in the back at John Lewis in High Wycombe. She happened to be talking about my book to a Muslim friend of hers, and he said, oh, that sounds interesting, I'm going to read it. Which is interesting because it's not shying away from the fact that it's a Christian book. And then this is the fun bit of social media. If you can have a good laugh on social media, there was somebody made a rather negative comment about King Charles, and yeah, that's all right. But I said actually it was an American, of course, so they've got history with the monarchy. And so I said, yeah, but he's not doing it too bad. He supports the environment. He got some pretty cool African drummers in at his coronation. And then this other voice piped up and was positive, and I sort of made the usual sort of English noises, like say, "Oh, jolly spiffing good," mostly making it obvious I'm an Englishman. And then it turns out this other guy, who I assumed was an American, actually was an Englishman as well. So then I said, as the author of Dialect Christianity, I ought not to jump to conclusions about where you're from. Anyway, it turned out I used to be the manager of Durham Cathedral Bookshop and would really like to read my book. But that interaction has happened, and then you talk about your book. So it's all about doing those, taking time to do a bit of promotion, do a bit of relation building, and then somebody might like to buy your book, and that's when life gets on and you don't always have time to do this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, and it's that serendipity as well, and kind of as you say, it's almost like that person sounds like the ideal person for you to reach as well. And if they read it and they enjoy it and they mention it to a few friends, it's like the perfect kind of word of mouth there. And the big mistake a lot of first-time authors make, I think, is just beating people around the head and saying, read my book, read my book, read my book, and that just doesn't work. And I mean, the stat you shared earlier as well, I mean, I don't think that's not just for Christian authors as well. That's for people writing, like self-published people across any genre. The average author sells something like 25 copies or something. So actually, I would imagine it's probably harder to sell Christian nonfiction than, say, fantasy or, romance or, mystery or one of those big genres that has that kind of mainstream appeal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's niche in some way, but it's niche hoping to go mainstream. I've written in such a way like avoiding theological jargon. Oh my word. That's why I didn't get a Christian editor to edit it. I got a normal, just run the mill, but a great group. Can't remember what they're called. But anyway, the editor was not a Christian, and she often pointed out, what's that jargon? I don't understand it. I thought, oops, there's some Christian jargon popping in that nobody else will understand. One of the great phrases that we love to, I don't know what you think about this, we would often say, talking about doing life. And she said, the only people who do life are those that are behind bars.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That's what it makes me, what it made me think of. But I can understand. It's one of those where you can understand what it means, but you also have to, and I'm sure you've had this, is you have to kind of write almost to the lowest common denominator. And so I've had things with clients, probably more so than with my own writing, because with my own writing, I mean, I do the same. I have an American editor so that she calls me out on anything that's overly British. But that happens quite a lot with my freelance clients, and I think I used the phrase "salt of the earth" recently, and they were like, they'd never heard that expression before, and you can't use expressions like that because if somebody who's maybe speaks English as a second language reads this, they're not going to have a clue what you're talking about.
Well, I used a Lancashire phrase that means to hit somebody with your head, referring to my Rottweiler dog, but apparently it's obscene.
Fair enough. I won't ask you what it is then, because we probably won't be able to put it on the air.
That's right. Okay, let's just move on.
Cool. Well, what you mentioned to me, you had a few bullet points you wanted to cover. So what else have you got to chat to us about other than Dalek Christianity?
Right. Oh, those are all my bullet points. But actually, I'm sort of wanting to introduce my daughter because she's one of these people who's, sometimes you get pulled up by your own children and having to. And she's gone through a lot of struggles. She's gone through a lot of mental health issues, but it's enabled her. She's got a mind that will really research them and look at the other person. That's the amazing Esther Lucioli, and she lives in Cork in Ireland at the moment, and she's a sort of dance teacher, entertainer, MC, often wants to write a book, often wants to, she's been putting together like pilot episodes of something which is an intercultural dating comedy, or what do they call a mix between drama and comedy. I think it's a dramedy, isn't it? Yeah, I've had a lot of fun composing and arranging music for it. Which I absolutely love. So there's one scene where the heroine, of course, it's a bit like Miranda. Miranda Hart she's not who she is in her own show, but yeah, she's a bit. So obviously the main character is my Esther, just writ a bit large, and so there's one bit where she's doing an application for social security. So as the music gets faster and more frenetic, more and more piles of paperwork, bang, bang, bang on the person's desk, and each time she says no, and finally the last straw, a urine bottle goes onto the desk. So that's but then I had to do this sort of high speed sort of boom, 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 sort of stuff. So I ended up with two bass guitars and then a little load of brass coming in. So I love to arrange those sort of things. I've been getting into artificial intelligence music. So I'm organizing a huge conference for about 600 people. When I say I'm organizing, I'm part of the team organizing. And I don't know if you do this, but sometimes I'm in a Zoom meeting and I hear my voice volunteering for something before my head has actually decided that I want to volunteer for it. And so I found myself volunteering to make the promotional video. And the reason why I did that is because I'm learning about AI, and I wanted to see how I could use AI for free, because a lot of the people that go to the conference don't have money. They're from the developing world. They might be sponsored to get there. So what can I do for free to really speed up and make some high impact video? And I asked Perplexity, which is a AI tool, to give me a 3-verse lyrics of a conference taking place in Holland on such and such a topic. Gave me 3 verses. Then I threw the three verses. Into Suno.com, and I said, take these lyrics and write a 3-verse Afrobeat Bhangra song. And it just came out with an absolute banger. It even had the most amazing beat drop coming into the chorus. I mean, it was like, something that some rave DJ would put together. And here's, I'm a bloke, I'm 65, and I'm putting these songs together. I know how to arrange music. I've put a few of my own songs on YouTube, but they've taken me hours and hours and hours. And the end result is, it's not bad, but it's, it's not quite radio. But this was amazing. So I'm having fun with AI. So I would say to people, don't be afraid of it. There's lots of free tools out there. Use it for whatever you like, and ask questions, and you'd be surprised what you come up with.
Yeah. Well, and that, I think, as well, is like a perfect example of, one of the real feasible use cases of AI, because it's unlikely that anytime soon there's going to be, you know, the next Beyonce or whatever will be an AI algorithm, but it's perfect for things like that. And even, you know, like you like you have a how-to video or whatever it might be, or like a little basic animation, and all of those, like historically they've just used royalty-free music in the background, and AI is a great way of generating bits of music like that you know, otherwise somebody's going to have to make, and they're not going to make any money out of it anyway, because again, royalty free. That's why people use it. So that's, you know, that's super cool, and especially for, again, lower income people who don't have the money to spend on expensive music licenses or original composers and all of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, and as it expands, what I'd like to see, without giving away too many details of what part of the world I work in, there was a minority language, and I wanted to see if it could take the recording and then convert it into a slightly different accent. Would that be acceptable? Yeah. Because some people are scared that their voice might be heard by enemies. So I gave it a go. I chose. Now there are 50 languages for me to choose from. Not the nearest one, but one from a few hundred miles away was a majority language. I chose that and put it through the system. And my colleague who's from that country said, yeah, it sounded a bit like someone with a speech impediment. But, you know, so we're getting there. I wouldn't be surprised if another year or two, the more and more minority languages are on the system, hopefully, and we'll be able to do things like that. So in a sense, it's just, you can't get a guide to it because it's always changing, it's always developing, and we'll see. So you can use it in pretty well any walk of life.
And that's an interesting use case as well, because, you know, especially with the way the world is and we're kind of becoming increasingly interconnected, a lot of smaller languages, like niche languages, are either going extinct or they're becoming very rare. And maybe that's a potential use case of AI, is to preserve some of those so that we don't end up losing cultural heritage.
Yeah. That is a really, as a colleague of mine is actually an expert in this, but this is a really interesting phenomenon, that people who speak these minority languages, the vast majority of them also speak other languages. But the big question is, are those languages going to die, or are they just going to be used in different contexts? And the trouble was, 90% of the people of us in England, we all speak English for everything, and we're monolingual. And that makes us weird in the world. We don't understand that because we swim in it. We use English for official. We use English for shopping. We use English for reading. We use English for slagging off our kids. We use English for singing. Not that we should slag off our kids. And I don't. But in most societies, there'll be 3, 4, 5 languages that will be used in different functions. So it all depends what language will that language survive in the internet age, the AI age. Jury's still out on that, and we're still looking to see. We'd like to see those, because it's like, you know, each language has its own richness. Like you know, we're seeing die out of species, we're seeing die out of some languages. What's the best way to preserve them in the AI age? And that is one of the questions we'll actually be asking at this conference in a couple of months' time.
Awesome. Well, cool. That's pretty much it. The only other thing is to ask what's next for you. You've mentioned the conference. I mean, can you give any more details on that, or is it top secret?
I mean, I have no idea. It's not top secret. We are now, if you go to emdc.info, it'll be there. And then hopefully in a few days, the promotional video will be there, and it only lasts 90 seconds. So
Check it out.
Won't take up much of your time. It'll probably be on the front page, I hope.
Yeah. And in the meantime, where can people pick up a copy of Dalek Christianity if they want to take you into the top 10%?
If you just Google Dalek Christianity, it'll be up there. It's on Amazon. It's on all sorts of other sites as well if you don't like Amazon. But basically, just put Dalek Christianity into your search engine.
That was Alice Olive by Superlaw. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. And it's time for us to head over to the Ilk Shed now to catch up with Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review.
MGMT, Oracular Spectacular. This is a CD I first listened to when it was new and I took it out of the library. But I bought this copy from the British Heart Foundation charity shop in High Wycombe. MGMT have a new album out at the moment, and every time I hear the initials MGMT, which is an abbreviation for the management, I immediately imagine a sharp, piercing, distorted sound, playing the kind of riff that takes up residence in your head. You don't even need to hear it. Just remembering it is enough to set it off. I listened to this CD recently and it was almost a relief to hear the real thing, rather than hearing a memory going around in my head. I love the first track on this album with that riff, even though so much of it is not to my taste. When artists use non-standard sounds, I will often question their choice of patches or effects, even if the notes being played are faultless. I have never understood why Edwyn Collins chose the lead guitar sound on Never Met a Girl Like You before. Even though I absolutely love Time to Pretend, the first track, I do find the lead riff too grating, and the background synth too distorted, and the singing is just too distant. But who am I to question such success? They remind me a bit of a more dancey Flaming Lips, or a more trippy Moby, with on a couple of tracks a touch of Gary Newman. This album was publicised at the time as being psychedelic. Today that phrase can just mean choosing a sitar setting on a synth, rather than going the whole Ravi Shankar like George Harrison did. I can hear the psychedelic comparison in many of the songs, which have a melodic dreamy quality like early Pink Floyd, or the Pretty Things' SF Sorrow. There are acoustic guitars like the Satanic Majesty Stones, and drums and backwards guitar like the Revolver Beatles. There are 80s analogue arpeggiations and 90s digital EDM filters, exotic textures and modes, and tunes that grab your attention and hold on to it for days on end. These songs are packed with so much happening musically that you can play the whole album multiple times and it will sound different each time. They seem to have been determined that it should never be boring. The other big number on the album is the other big synth number, Kids, which uses similar sounds to Time to Pretend, but has an entirely different earworm riff. Oracular Spectacular, MGMT.
Big thank you to Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review. Thank you to Squidfacegirl and to Tom Schwarz for catching up with me. Thank you to everyone whose music I've shared. As always, you can find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. We are repeated on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again, iTunes, Spotify, wherever else you get your podcasts. Please do leave us a short review on your podcast platform of choice. And if you want to get in touch with me here at the studio, you can drop me a line on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. So I'm going to leave you with one last tune, and this is the incredible Sandemus with Promises. I'll catch you next week.